I want to introduce the award, which is the Pete Newbon Award for the greatest contribution to the public understanding of anti-Semitism. There are many, many people in this room who knew Pete very well and who opposed anti-Semitism with him, arm in arm with him, and Pete is greatly missed. He is as much missed as he has been at any point since he died, and we will not forget him. If people want to understand why we honour Pete Newbon in this way, then there is a document that I have published. You can Google those words and you can find out at great length why we honour Pete Newbon. But suffice to say at the moment that he was a scholar. He was an academic at the University of Northumbria, and he was an activist, and he was fighting Corbynite anti-Semitism, and he was fighting some of the most unpleasant people who consider themselves to be supportive of Corbyn. He was fighting them daily on Twitter, and it took a toll. And we love him. So let me introduce to you Joanne Bell, who is the chair of the independent judges panel for the Pete Newbon Award. Jo is what does it say? Communication strategist and a professional in the world of PR. Kirsty Young is a terrific chief of staff at HET, at the Holocaust Education Trust, who I've been really honoured to work with over the last year, and very happy that she agreed to act as a judge. And Luke Akehurst, people may well know, has been somebody. He was one of the stay and fight guys in the Labour Party who actually stayed and actually fought. And Luke is now a Labour MP, so that's terrific. And he's off, I think he's off abroad doing something Labour MP-ish. I'm not sure what he's doing. So let me introduce to you the chair of the judges, Joanne Bell.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, he's run off, Professor David Hirsch, which is a joy to be able to say, for such a moving introduction to this second year of the Pete Newbon Awards. It's a true honour to be standing here in front of all of you on behalf of the other two judges, as David said, Luke Akehurst, MP for North Durham, and Kirsty Young, who I just want to mention, her work on digitalisation at HET has been really instrumental in pushing forward the organisation's mission. This year in 2024, it's actually pretty bittersweet, to be honest, to see the sheer length of the long list. It was a remarkable long list, and all of them should be honoured. Many of those on the long list will be familiar names to you all, some of whom have been thrust into prominence with their tireless work, and that word will turn up again and again, tireless, combating the true explosion of anti-Semitism in all its awful and various guises that's occurred since October the 7th, 2023. I want to just mention academics like Alan Johnson, David H. Stone, and Leslie Claff, fighting bravely on what can be one of the most vicious battlefields, UK academia, in great irony, and also Colonel Richard Kemp, often commentating from the actual battlefield. Journalists like David Collier, whose meticulous research has broken innumerable stories around anti-Semitism, and Douglas Murray, whose presence on our screens has been somewhat of a bright spark and light to so many. And also some new faces from some younger people, such as Rachel Moiselle, whose writing from her experiences at Trinity College Dublin has laid bare the resurgence of what seems to be Ireland's now almost ubiquitous anti-Semitism in its cultural and political life. Everyone is doing such important work, and it was so hard to choose between all of them, but choose we had to. The judges discussed carefully what it meant to us to make the greatest contribution to the public understanding of anti-Semitism, particularly this year, which has seen record highs of anti-Semitic words, deeds, and acts, some very violent indeed. To us, it meant people who showed unstinting bravery, commitment, and critically, a way of making accessible to regular people, the public, what anti-Semitism is and how it affects the Jewish community and the society around it. When the public has basically the attention span of a gnat and people are used to bite-sized content and flicking through like, swipe, it's no mean feat to convey 2,000 plus years of insidious and often complex tropes and concepts in a way that's digestible and easy to understand. It was something that dear Pete Newbon was incredibly gifted at, and something that all of the remarkable individuals on our highly commended list have done. And so I'd like to introduce them all, our highly commended, in alphabetical order. Firstly, Heidi Backram. Heidi, a long-standing environmental campaigner, has been more recently alongside her husband Adam Manit, whose cousin Sachi is held hostage by Hamas, has become instrumental and relentless in exposing and combating anti-Semitism and extremism in Brighton and nationally. Her daily work supporting the October 7th community-organised memorial and her ability to convey the human impacts on Jews of the anti-Semitic activity have made global headlines from Australia to the US and beyond. She's exposed numerous hate crimes against Jews, ensuring anti-Semitic events and speakers were cancelled from publicly funded venues, and has educated in person the public, schools, colleges, police, and local politicians on these issues, leading to some high-profile arrests, but even more importantly, fundamental policy changes in the way that some institutions are operating. And so on to Alex Hearn. Alex, again, relentless and tireless in his work against anti-Semitism, a director of Labour Against Anti-Semitism, which played a critical role in achieving the EHRC findings of discrimination against Jews in the UK Labour Party. Alex is a true activist in every sense of the word. He's been instrumental in exposing and helping to bring several anti-Semitic criminals to justice. And believe me, he has been absolutely dogged, perhaps, and very forthright and straightforward in the manner in which he communicates. He's been a prolific writer and public commentator from such variety, from the Daily Star and Express to BBC News and Sky News and the Jewish media. He's also an educator giving lectures to lawmakers and at universities and with Jewish community groups across Europe and beyond. And teaching the police, in many cases, it seems, the actual law about anti-Semitism, rather than what they seem to have been doing beforehand. And so also on to Nicole Lampert. A well-respected and established features and ghostwriter, journalist Nicole Lampert has risen to more recent prominence through her tireless efforts to educate the wider public and break news stories around anti-Semitism. Writing on the topic for a huge variety of publications, and interestingly, particularly for younger audiences, including Glamour magazine and Fabulous, as well as the Daily Mail, the Independent, and the Metro. Nicole has also recently started to appear as a commentator, including GB News and BBC Radio. And she's publicly called out and made headlines for calling out many of the celebrities she would have previously given rather soft soap interviews for, including, rather infamously, Gary Lineker. No comment needed there. And finally, on to Alika Lebon. an Iranian British attorney, activist, and soon-to-be author, Alika Newbon has tirelessly raised, I keep on saying tirelessly, I'm so sorry. I was going to say indefatigable, I can't say it. And that was going to be in honour of gorgeous George Galloway, but I literally practiced and I can't. So tirelessly it is, relentlessly. Has raised public awareness of anti-Semitism, particularly on the left, drawing on her family experience as Iranian dissidents and highlighting the hypocrisy and anti-Semitic standards of the media and other commentators. Alika's eloquence and charm on video has seen her rise to prominence on social media, particularly on Instagram and X, formerly Twitter. Her appearances on various news outlets such as Fox News, CNN, Piers Morgan, and Dr. Phil have circulated widely to wide acclaim. I think we can all agree every single one of them would be deserving winners of this year's prize. All utterly, you can hear it, tireless and brave. And I would ask you all to give the highly commended a huge round of applause.
We're here.
Oh, there you go. I'm afraid Alika can't be with us today, but I'm sure she'll see the video. Although, as with all these things, sadly, there can only be one winner. And the judges felt, looking at the criteria of the public understanding of anti-Semitism, the winner's work in being able to convey the humanity of Jewish people through exposing and highlighting human stories particularly stood out. Anti-Semitism thrives precisely because Jews are often seen as an idea or a concept rather than real people like any other. And so for this reason, I'm delighted to announce that the winner of the Pete Newbon Award for 2024 is Heidi Backram. Heidi is now going to say a few words.
Wow, what an honor. I really wasn't expecting it. Because the people that I was on the short list with, and even the long list, are incredible people. And actually, Alex and Nicole particularly, I work with every day. So this fight is never a solo endeavor. So it feels strange for one person to get this, but Alex and Nicole, Alex with his dogged perseverance in exposing anti-Semites and bringing them to actual justice is so unique and special. And Nicole, the work she's done, staring sexual violence of Hamas in the face and never flinching, when the whole world wanted to look away, and she never did, and she reminded us of what happened that day, and still continues to happen to the hostages. And be in no doubt, what happened on October 7th was anti-Semitism in its most brutal form. It was violence and death and torture. It was kidnapping children, babies. My husband's cousin still remains in Gaza after watching his 18-year-old daughter shot in the head. For trying to protect her family, for trying to keep a door closed. And that door is open now to all these horrors we never thought we'd see again. And just because we can call it Israel and we can call it a geopolitical issue doesn't mean it's not the same as what's happened before for thousands of years to Jewish people. To get this award in the name of Pete is really special to me. I knew Pete. We fought together against a different version of the same thing. He was witty and clever, and he was a scholar, but he was in it with us, on the ground, in the fight. And I think about often what he would make of what's happening now. And I know that he'd be in the fight, and we'd be stronger for it. So I'm deeply honored to have something that's part of his legacy, and I'm deeply humbled. And I'm really thankful that LCSCA exists, because academia is such a den of hate at the moment. It is the seed for many of the terrible things that we're seeing being born. It's a unique place, and we must all support it. Thank you to all the volunteers that made this event so special and wonderful, and thank you all for coming. Thank you to my husband, who is bearing a load that no person should bear. The hostage families are all bearing that load, but they are not alone. We are with them. We are tiny lights, but boy, do we burn bright. Am Yisrael Chai.